Okay, so I need to resolve some issues. I want this to kind of be the main focal point, so I'm going to need to mute some other areas that are out there. And that's easily done. If I want to kind of gray down green areas, I just use a little bit of a pink version. So see how all of a sudden that just sent that into the background. That's good. That's a good thing. Okay. I kind of like what's going on with this rock down here, so I'm going to keep that. And then I'm going to allow for some grayer areas in here to keep the bright white from overpowering everything. And then I talked about over in here the other day being just too light and bright. So I'm going to come in and dim that down just a bit. I don't like that straight, rigid shape there. So I'm going to work on diverting it a bit, maybe even widening it up here at the top a little, creating more of a triangulated type shape. That's good. And I might save some of that white there. Okay. Just a little too much there. It's hard because you end up saying, you know, I love this. I love this look. This is so pretty. And yeah, you might, but you just have to lose a little bit of it in order to make the area of dominance, you know, shine and stand out. It's a little too wet. We'll let that look like it's an extension of that tree. Okay. And kind of keeping with this purple theme over here, add a little bit more detail so that this area is kind of a fun area to let your eye roam to. Just enough detail to keep it interesting, but not so much that it becomes too detailed and competes with. Okay, so now I didn't do anything to the area of dominance. I did things to other areas to dim them down and make them set back a bit, and that's helped create more of a sense of focus in here, which is good. It's a good thing. Okay. It's still almost too light and bright down here, but we'll keep playing around with it and see. What we can do. Definitely want to blue that area up a little. I like the green that's bleeding down because it says, you know, I'm a shadow or a reflection, and that's awesome. But at the same time, I feel like I want some more blue in that area. Right up against the bank especially. Okay. Just so that the greens in the background there don't look just like they're tree greens. That's why I'm adding that there. Just a hint of more of a shadow here. Okay, I like that. This area is lacking shadows entirely, so I'm just going to enhance the shadow back here and carry some of that through. Okay. And this is starting to sing a little bit more. I dimmed this down, but maybe not as much as I need to. So let's take pull some of that out. And then it just looks like I've naturally tried to work with it here. That's standing out, just not enough. Okay. So things are starting to shift up here. This still looks awfully linear here, so I'm going to just get aggressive right now and talk it down. Okay, so that's doing a little better there. I'm standing back for a second to take a look. So create, these lights are sort of stealing the show a little bit, so I'm going to dim them down just a little, not all of it. I like these lights, but not all of them. Get rid of that one in the middle. And then back here, I'm going to gray down. I know it looks scary and aggressive. It's like, what are you doing? But I want to get that mountain, some of it sitting back. By taking a wash of green over red, it's just going to automatically gray it down for me. Get rid of anything light and bright, too light and bright by the edges there. Give it a little bit more. Okay. Taking a round brush. I like that that looks like a second row of trees or something back there. And my Lake Tahoe friends are like, wait, this is not what it looks like. Definitely not. I'm not going for realism here right now. Just going for good design, making good design decisions. And then the sky, I'm just gonna give that hilltop a little bit more definition. That kind of trying to draw the eye in. I like what's going on here. I don't want to upset that apple cart too much. So I'm going to just let some of this fade over here to the side. Right off the top edge there. You can see how already that's bringing the eye a little bit more in here. And again, I'm referring back to a lot of the stuff that Weiger was teaching this weekend at this Sierra Watercolor Society, or last week at the Sierra Watercolor Society workshop that we had. It's sort of combining what I've always done, which is really a loose, you see how loose my skies are, and I love backgrounds and whatnot. And then the concept of sort of of graying down areas you don't want the eye to go to. And this here now looks like a tree that was coming up, so I might just work with that a little. All right. So it's going to look like a bit of a faded tree off in the distance a bit, which is okay. it's so wet that everything I'm putting down here is getting too, it's bleeding so much that it's not making anything defined, which I'm okay with, but I need a little bit of definition. So I'm going to wait a minute and kind of let it dry a bit, and then I'll come in and do a little more dark right in there, especially over here, to blend with that a bit. Okay, so now we're starting to see, this is actually catching my eye almost too much. It's gorgeous with the purples and the raw sienna and green all right there, but I'm going to have to lose it because it's drawing me away from kind of the flow. So if I have a centrifugal flow, I can kind of, the eye can come in this way, come up, dance around there, and then go out that way. And it wasn't exactly the plan, because you could see it's not necessarily how you go about doing it. It's what you end up interpreting as things continue. And this, I'm just trying to create a little more definition on this island. Horizontal lines are good because they say, it says to the mind, this is a flat surface, and water, if anything, is a flat surface unless you're on Mars or it's a waterfall. So, and Mars it probably is too. My cousin Diane could tell me. She worked for NASA. So, okay. So now do you see how that is sort of popping that island into the foreground? Okay, and then I'm just blending it gently. I don't want to lose this. I love this. And I think that's a big reason why I paint with watercolors, is for these expressions, as it were. Okay, so you are gorgeous, but I gotta lose you. No, say it isn't so, but I'm gonna. That's that. It's the way it is. Sorry. Okay, just a little bit of a glaze and see how it sits back. So now I'm looking back over here and saying I do need to do a little more detail right in here. And I love that there's that one little purple tree. And so I'm gonna work with that and get some lime green going. Let this be just a little more detail. And enhance that negative space there a little bit more. Come in above it and let that go a little darker. Okay. And let those colors bleed together. Okay, and that adding a little bit of bright is going to draw the eye too. So I'm going to do that elsewhere. Here, and then see how all of a sudden, whoosh, your eye just goes right into here, and it doesn't even have to make perfect sense. You know, I know my botanist friends will be like, wait, it's a bush now, what it was a rock a minute ago. It's okay. Grab a glass of wine, you'll be fine. So, oh, that rhymes, cute. Okay, so it's a little too dark in here to do too much more, but I might add a tiny bit of dark into some of the darks, but in a smaller shape. So it's not necessarily mimicking that shape. If you go larger to smaller as you're getting darker values, that actually makes sense in the mind, because we know that the darker shapes and shadows tend to draw things down, anchor them, and make things, especially from a distance, make things appear as if they're in the shadow or they're set back further. Now, if you're doing mountains from a distance, they go lighter as they go back. But when you're looking at shadows of an area like this, for instance, it's going to go darker. So here's an example. Right in here, I might want to make a little bit of a detail shadow. And connect that to some other darks, so that it's just this idea of a shadow that could be going up and under or back somehow. Okay, so I feel like this right here is the only part that's not totally resolved, and I've been leaving it for last because it's so darn pretty. I've got to be careful and decide just how I want to deal with this. But I know I liked that ripple originally, and until I started painting the rest of it, it looked like it held by having, you know, a shadow at the edge of the bank. But now I'm going to get in there and do something. Have some fun with that baby. Change it just a little bit. And I'm going to pull some of that out. Oh, that did it. That's helping an awful lot already. I've lost some of the beauty of my bloom, and that's okay. Again, you have to sacrifice one thing in order to keep another. Let's let that run into that bloom there, or that water calligraphy there. Don't want to lose all that white. I've got to be really careful at this point, but I want to resolve that shape. That shape is really bumpy. Not that water can't be bumpy, it certainly can, but with these other ones being so smooth, I just want to ensure that it doesn't look, the paper's bumpy right there, that's what's going on. Just want to ensure that it doesn't look irregular necessarily.
Wrong brush.
This flat brush is my favorite for doing things like this. So that's what happened just then. Okay. Oh, you know, it's really hard to decide if a painting's ever done. But I think we're getting close. Let me get some more of that rich green going. Okay, now that this is a little too dry now, dang it. Okay, I'm just going to bounce around just a little. Get enough detail in that background that it can... If it says tree, I know it doesn't speak. I know that sounds new agey, but if it says tree, then that's all I need it to do. I don't need it to do a whole lot more. So I'm just smushing now. That's a technical term, smushing. And I feel like it's good. I just, right here it's a little too thick. At the top I can give it just a little more detail if I want. So the shapes are good. And they're communicating what I want them to. But yeah, I'm getting to that place where it could be overworked very, very soon. Right here, I feel like I need a line of some sort, just a hint of a flat line. And gosh, I feel like I want to call it done. I do feel like I need something right here. And okay, going to risk overworking it if I go too much more. If I were to do anything later, I might come in and glaze over some of these whites just to really bring the focus here. But then what happens is the rest of the water doesn't seem to have that white, a fluidity aspect of it. And I like that because it could be a cloud coming down like this. What I wish is that some of the whites had trickled over into here too. But it is what it is. So no painting is ever perfect. No painting ever really feels 100%, or very few artists feel like their paintings are 100% finished. But I'm going to call this one done for now. Okay? And this will give you an idea of where you can get a hold of me if you're interested. Oh, maybe if I put it, where is it? Oh. Anyhow, if you're interested in finding out more about how you can get in touch with me or my lessons in and around the Lake Tahoe region, I'm at www.dlauren.net. That's DLAUREN.net. All right, thanks so much. Happy painting!